2020 was a year that tested us. It tested our faith, our heart, our giving nature. It tested our strength. And here we are at the end of the year. Right before Christmas, I always take a trip to the thrift store. It always takes on a special magic. It's Christmas time. Oh, that is nice. I saw a young girl eyeing this just a few minutes ago. I'd so like to buy this for her. Oh, look at that. It's the cutest little bear. This is Season's Greeting. Look at, he looks so sad. You kind of remind me of Desi. Yeah, I can't be taking you home now. I can't adopt you. I'm a grown woman. I can't be putting stuffed animals on my wall. Good luck, buddy. I hope somebody adopts you. You're so cute. Look at you. There's so many reasons I love Christmas. I think Christmas brings out the child in all of us.
The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay, keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel.
Everybody, I'm so happy to see you today. Thank you so much for coming back and seeing me and Desi. And Merry Christmas. You know, this is the last video Desi and I are probably going to do before the New Year. So I'm so glad we get to spend this little Christmas day together. And you know, it's kind of a tradition. A few days before Christmas, I always go to the thrift store. I always did with my mom. And it was magical. And this year I went and I took you. And you know, I never used to believe in signs, but you all have got me believing in signs. So it seemed that every item that I bought at the thrift store was a sign. It had such meaning for me, for you. I couldn't believe it. There were things that reminded me to be a better person, or to work on something that I long ago let go of, or maybe I needed to contact somebody that I hadn't talked to in a while. There were things like that happening. It was, well, it felt good. It made me cry, but everything makes me cry this time of year, so I'm a crier anyway, you know that. But I'm so glad you're here. Oh gosh, isn't that vase pretty? That's the same colors that I'm using in my bedroom, and it would match my tray. Oh gosh, should I get it? How much is it? I feel I can hardly bear it. I'm gonna miss my family so much this Christmas. I just have to have faith and hope that next year will seem so much sweeter when we're all together. You know, I don't think it's any secret that we're animal lovers here, and we love bird pillows and bird quilts and you name it. But anyway, I found this beautiful 2-candle holder that is just beautifully crafted of birds. And I've never seen one quite like this, and this is actually quite old, and it's very, very beautiful. So I grabbed it when I saw it at the thrift store, and then I thought to myself, well, that's a little odd, right? I mean, it seemed like every aisle I turned down, there was something to do with birds, and I thought, well, what's somebody trying to tell me with all these birds? And I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, I always think of birds as being so fragile. And then I looked it up, and of all the animals in the world, birds have the hardest, strongest, most dense bones of any animal on earth. And they also have the most efficient hearts and lungs, so they can fly thousands of miles. I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, just looking at those little beautiful creatures flying in the sky. And then that brought me back to this year, 2020, where, when the pandemic hit, and I was scared, and I know so many of you were scared too, and I felt fragile. I felt like, I'm never going to get through this. I was scared. And I thought, well, I can't film. I sure can't film. I could hardly even talk. But then I thought, well, I have to. Even though I feel fragile, I have to. I have to film. I can't let this I can't let this beat me down. And I felt that I owed my friends, my subscribers, a video every week to prove that we're all okay and we're going to make it and there's going to be better days. And in me trying to, well, in my mind I'm thinking I'm helping you, but really you were helping me. And then I realized we helped each other. Just because I might feel fragile doesn't mean I'm weak. And just because I might occasionally feel afraid doesn't mean that I'm not strong. This month, every day, I've been thinking about John, that neighbor who hated me. He lost his daughter. I'd so much like to stop by and give him an ornament for his tree. I wonder if that would be okay. He loved stars. Oh my goodness, if you're my age, do you remember this in your house? With the dial phone and maybe your mama sitting there talking to her best girlfriend? I do. I always used to talk about the neighbor who hated me, and where I used to live, there was an older gentleman, and we had words, but I would always get him, kind of a little present to try to get him to like me, but it never really worked. So we kind of had a running war. Well, a few months ago, he lost his daughter unexpectedly, his adult daughter. He's 80. John is 80. So, even though he's the neighbor that hates me, I do remember when we were friends, we would sit and we would have tea, and he would make these little Christmas trees for both his daughters. And they would be nothing but wooden stars for ornaments. And I don't think I'll ever forget it. And now that his daughter's gone, I thought what I would do is I would take this ornament and I would find the most beautiful box for it and wrap it up and maybe write him a little poem and just stop by and give it to him. I mean, I know what he'll say. What are you doing here? But when I saw this ornament, I knew immediately that I had to give this to John, the neighbor who hates me. I thought it was a sign to reach out. A beautiful watercolor painting that I got at the thrift store by D. Morgan, and I will show you a close-up of it because it's just too gosh darn heavy and big to really show you in this shot. But when I was at the thrift store, it was just hanging and it was all dusty. It looked like nobody had taken care of it in 20 years. And that really intrigued me because I knew the work was so good. but I didn't recognize the artist, Dee Morgan. I never heard of her, but I knew I loved it. And I saw the little verse that she had put with her painting, and I loved it. So, I got everything together and I checked out and I got home and I cleaned up the painting and it was absolutely in pristine condition. I think I found the perfect spot for my watercolor, my Dee Morgan watercolor that I got. I think it's just perfect there in the dining room. So I got home and I Googled Dee Morgan. I wanted to know who she was. She's an artist. Why would I have heard of her? And she's an artist from Georgia. She started painting when she was a little girl. And she has this beautiful, unique way of painting everyday life and then putting in her little verses. And it all comes together. So she has the communication of her colors and the subjects of her paintings, plus her words, her philosophy. She married and she had 2 children, and her daughter, like I said, became an artist, but she lost her son tragically in 1989. And they were talking about how when she was painting and doing her verses, she was working through the grief of losing her son. And instead of moving on, like people always tell you to do, she just painted as if he were still alive. And she would do, the little verses like she was reliving what it was like to raise her 2 children. And it was beautiful. That was how she dealt with dealing with grief. And it also said in her biography that many times she would paint and cry, and she would listen to her very favorite artist, Sarah Vaughan, a jazz vocalist. That was my mother's very favorite vocalist. Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald. Dealing with loss is something that we talk a lot about here, especially in the comments. Losing a mother or a father, a husband, a daughter, a son, a friend, a beloved pet, the death of a marriage. We talk a lot about loss. And we also were dealt a lot of loss in 2020, weren't we? This was from 1991. And she writes, dishes done, papers read, children snuggled into bed. Hours past the setting sun, I count my blessings, one by one. Nobody can tell us how to deal with loss. That's up to us. As long as it doesn't defeat us. And it doesn't define us. So with 2020, we survived it, right? But we'll never be the same. Never. And I think for many of us, we'll be better people. Never again will we take for granted the life that we had. We'll never take for granted that we get to see our family at Christmas and hug them. And maybe those hugs in the future will be a little bit longer. Until I saw this painting, I had forgotten that dealing with loss, it's not on a timetable. I can deal with it really any way that I choose. And I don't have to run from the memories. I can embrace them. Because even in death, all that love that we had for our loved one and our loved one had for us, that never dies. We never have to grieve that loss. Their love lives within us every single day, and we pass that on to our children, our grandchildren, our friends, the people that we touch, strangers. Her heart changed after she lost her son. And that's when she felt in her heart she was a true artist. You want to sing Jingle Bells? Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh! Woo! Hey everybody, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. I loved every second of it. And if you get a chance down below, could you just share with us if anything that I got at the thrift store was kind of a sign for you too of something that you wanted to work on. But please have yourself a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. When you're done celebrating, come back and see me and Desi, okay? All right, we'll be here. We love you.
Desi, look me in the eye. Desi, look me in the eye. Did you steal some Christmas cookies tonight? Yeah, are you sorry? Are you sorry? Nope.
So remind me of my grandmother. She always used to say, a day without vodka is like a day without sunshine.